Have you heard about how food affects your mental health or how food affects your mood? My name is Emily Sellis, and I'm the host of the Sage Holistic Show. Today, Crystal Springe is going to get into the details of this, so I hope you listen and learn something that can help you right now.
SAGE is a 501c3 nonprofit organization building community by providing education and counseling about physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We encourage all of our listeners to find their own path to what holistic wellness means to you.
First off, I love all of your questions. You're taking your health into your own hands. So I'm so excited to help and guide you any way that I can.
Thank you.
But yeah, as I mentioned earlier, my name's Crystal Springe, and I do nutritional therapy and also Reiki at Sage. I am, going into about 9 years of experience in the holistic health field. When I was 19, I started doing nutrition at a chiropractic office, and kind of just worked my way up through a lot of different offices. And I'm really blessed of all of the experience and the knowledge that I gained from each one. Starting at the chiropractic office, where I learned a lot about the bodies and the connections and the muscles, and just really how the body functions and the importance of that nervous system. Then kind of making my way to acupuncture office, while I learned a lot about the Chinese and the Eastern medicine, learning a lot about healing the body through different herbs, that food really is medicine, and specifically through those herbs. I also have experience at a functional medicine office, where I really, I was the person who the people would come in, they would get all of their lab work done, stool testing done, saliva test, adrenal test done, and the doctor would give them the information, and I was the person that would actually help work with the client and implement everything, implement all of the lifestyle changes, personalized to what their lab work said, and then really understanding specific supplements that kind of could help support people through that. And now making my way to, I work part-time at 2 different offices. One is a medical office that specializes in hormone replacement therapy, working on diet with my clients for hormone metabolism, thyroid support, and also adrenal fatigue. And then of course I am with Sage, which has a lot of the overall holistic field. And Sage is actually where my passion for mental health, I learned about my passion for mental health, because they mainly focus on mental health services. And I am so happy to be the person there that really focuses on the physical body and really that mind-body connection, and teaching people who are struggling with mental health issues that everything's interconnected. The mind and body needs to be in balance. It needs to be connected. And when we're working on mental health issues like anxiety, depression, ADD, ADHD, brain fog, memory loss, really anything, a big question to ask is there a physical imbalance? What is going on in the physical body? And then especially the digestive system. So throughout all of my experience, I've really been able to narrow it down to specializing in digestive health, working on people with eating the right foods, supplementation, and then also stress response management is huge, huge for digestive health. And then that kind of niches out into 2 separate focuses of healing the digestive system for mental health, and then also healing the digestive system for autoimmune disease. But of course, healing the digestive system can go in so many different areas, which is really what I'm going to be talking about today. And I'm so happy to be talking about all of you, because I just wish that I could tell every single person struggling with any sort of mental health issue that really dissecting your food and focusing on what you're eating should be a huge part in the treatment process. We're seeing so many kids nowadays with behavioral issues, and parents are putting them on certain medications, but yet they're feeding them Pop-Tarts in the morning and sugar and pancakes and taking them to McDonald's after work, and it's just this vicious cycle. And people with anxiety or depression, a lot of their diets are filled with gluten and sugar, And honestly, food can either be the root cause of many mental health issues or a huge exacerbation of what is already pre-existing. So exacerbating, traumas or genetics. And we're going to talk about why. So we're going to talk about today I'm going to talk about why the digestive system is so important with mental health. And then of course the foods that you're eating, because that goes directly into the digestive system. So I did a little slideshow or present PowerPoint to kind of help guide you through what I'm talking about. So I will share my screen. Okay, so nutrition for mental health. And I just want to first start talking about why the digestive system is so important. And I use this quote all the time. It's all disease begins in the gut. And that's what Hippocrates said. He did a lot of research many, many, many years ago about the importance of the digestive system. And when we think about disease, we're not only thinking about physical disease, but we're also thinking about mental disease as well. So it all begins in the gut. And it's so important because it's where we absorb all of the nutrients that our bodies need for energy, for growth, for repair. A large part of our immune system is located in the digestive system, 70%. So our digestive system has a huge impact on inflammation, systemic inflammation, and how our body is protecting us. It houses the microbiome, and then it also actually contains 95% of serotonin, which is the feel-good hormone. So if our digestive system isn't happy, then all of these things are being dysregulated, therefore manifesting in so many different ways in people. The thing is that it's not just manifesting in one way. It's just about a list of 400 things that could be a symptom of an unhappy digestive system, and it just manifests different ways in different people. And my job mainly is to really help people become in tune with their bodies, to really understand what their symptoms are telling them, and then just kind of dig and shuffle through their lifestyle to hopefully find and address what that root cause is. Another main part of the digestive system is that it's considered our second brain. And that's because it's intricately connected to our brain and our nervous system. And this is a really big part of that mind-body connection. When you have fear or when you have anxiety or you have worry, you can directly feel that in your stomach. You get those butterflies, you get a stomach upset. And that's probably the clearest way to really explain this connection between the mind and body. And that connection is called the gut-brain axis. And this is really mainly what I work on, is helping someone balance out the gut-brain axis. And as you can see in this little diagram here, it's a bi-directional straight connection. So each is going to influence the other. So the health of our digestive system has a huge influence on neurotransmitter activity, our stress and anxiety, our mood, behavior, our perceptions of stress, our reactions to it. And then on the other hand, what is going on in our brain and the health of that is going to influence the digestive system. So motility, secretion of digestive enzymes, nutrients actually being absorbed, and then microbial balance. When we have a stress response going on, our body goes into a survival mode. We go into fight or flight. And when that happens, all that matters is that the survival mode. So our body shuts down systems that are considered detrimental during a fight or flight response. And digestion is actually one of those main systems that automatically get shut down, because when you're running from a lion in the jungle or any sort of stress response, you don't need to digest. So like I said, it's just this two-way street, and both needs to be managed. And that's why I really work on not only nutrition, but stress response management practices. And there's only, not being a licensed therapist, there's only so much I can do in that area, which is why I'm so happy to have all of Sage services and then all of you guys to be able to help refer to kind of help my client in some areas that I can't. And then as you can see, the microbiome, they're all kind of same ways to explain the microbiome, is highlighted. And that's because it is the biggest connection of the gut-brain axis. Our brain and digestive system are connected through nerves that connect them, and the vagus nerve is that main nerve that connects it. And the microbiome actually communicates through those nerves they communicate through each other to those nerves. And there are about 1,000,000,000,000,000,000 different microorganisms in our digestive system, and they really control our overall health. So let me talk a little bit about that. And like I said, so through the nerve cells in our intestinal lining, these microorganisms directly send messages to our central nervous system. And the health of these microbiome is going to directly control the state of your mental health. So of course you want them happy, you want them thriving, you want them communicating to the brain that everything's okay, all the systems can be working properly. Good bacteria levels are proven to lower anxiety, improve your mental outlook and perception of stress. It lowers the risk of depression by 25 to 35%. So this really makes them natural antidepressant and anti-anxiety organisms. And then of course, 90% of all disease can be traced back in some way to the gut and health of the microbiome. So as you can see, they play a vital role of overall well-being. So in order to keep them safe and living in harmony, we really need to pay attention to our lifestyle choices and then specifically the foods that we eat, because that is what is going directly into our digestive system. So what disrupts the microbiome? Like I said, mainly the foods that we're eating. So processed foods and inflammatory foods are basically foods that are either not foods at all, fake foods, very poor nutrient depth, no nutrients at all, inflammatory foods. So certain foods have become so genetically modified that our body doesn't even recognize them as food. So as soon as we eat that, with our immune system being in our digestive system, that's automatically going to put our bodies into a stress response because they are considered a foreign invader. So then kind of causing this whole imbalance in the gut-brain axis, putting our body in a stress response, shutting down the digestive system, having systemic inflammation is what these foods do. A lot of those foods are going to be like fried food, gluten, dairy. Gluten and dairy are huge when it comes to anxiety. Soy, sugar, grains, all of that can all be considered and affecting certain people. Sugar additives. Sugar actually feeds the bad bacteria. So the bad bacteria like candida or yeast is going to thrive off of sugar. And sugar is hidden in everything nowadays. So really contributing to this dysbiosis is what you would call it. Of course, alcohol, stress. We talked about the importance of managing stress when it comes to the digestive system. Antibiotics and medication are huge because antibiotics are kind of like a bomb to the digestive system. To the bacteria, I would say, in the digestive system. So it's not only killing off the bad bacteria, it's actually also killing off the good bacteria. And when the good bacteria is killed off, it allows this overgrowth of the bad bacteria to take over. So imagine when there's all of this bad bacteria overgrowth going on, that bacteria is sending signals to your brain about what's going on, and their brains control our brain. So, just think about the brain of a bad bacteria really stimulating anxiety and depression in someone. And then lack of sleep. So basically when your body is out of homeostasis, the microbiome gets affected. And when looking at people with mental health issues, I could probably almost guarantee that there's many of these factors that are involved in their lifestyle, if not all of them, because sadly, this is a huge part of the American lifestyle, the standard American diet. This is just what's normal to us. And that's why I really believe that there is such a huge spike and increasing more and more and more of mental health issues going on. And that's why I say it's such a passion of mine teaching people what is going on in their digestive systems, what's that connection to mental health, and really addressing that when treating mental health issues. When this becomes a huge part of their lifestyle, it's every day, it causes intestinal inflammation. And inflammation is basically our body's immune response. It's meant to protect us. So, you cut your hand, it gets swollen, it gets inflamed, your white blood cells go and it heals that spot. So our bodies are meant to heal itself. But what becomes an issue of inflammation is when it's unmanaged in our digestive system. And when we eat these foods, when we have stress, when we have many antibiotics, it's like cutting the intestines over and over and over again, where your body is not able to keep up and heal it, but it's just this whole overall inflamed process. Like I said, when that's unmanaged, that leads to systemic inflammation, which is overall inflammation. A lot of people, and like I said, it all manifests differently. So many people get like inflammation in their joints. But when we're talking about people with mental health issues, that becomes brain inflammation. And anxiety and depression, ADD, ADHD, and brain fog, lack of concentration, are all linked to intestinal inflammation, which is what I have outlined right here. Because we said that our intestines are lined with millions of different nerves that connect the brain to our gut. The digestive system doesn't only digest food, but it also guides our emotions. And like I said, so anxiety, depression, brain fog, lack of concentration can all be linked to intestinal inflammation. And then a subpar digestive system, so an inflamed digestive system, leads to malabsorption of vital nutrients, and deficiencies of omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, specifically B12, and vitamin D are all found in mental health issues. Almost every single mental health condition or diagnosis has a deficiency in one or all of these vitamins. And then, of course, it's not the issue of just having a subpar digestive system. The biggest issue, too, is just not even eating foods that contain these nutrients in them. Like, think about driving to McDonald's or eating a piece of pizza. It really doesn't have, or if it does, it's very, very, very little amounts of these vitamins in it. So your patients or you or your family and friends just aren't getting these nutrients that it needs to optimize, specifically the brain, with these vitamins outlined here. So what do we do about this? And when I work with my clients, I do the 4 R's of gut restoration. And really any issue, anything going on physically or mentally, I'm always looking at the gut because of what I outlined of all the importance in it. And the first step is going to be removing things. So removing certain foods and factors that damage the gut. And that's what I outlined earlier. So inflammatory foods, processed food, sugar, alcohol, stress. And it's also personalized for everyone. Everyone has their own unique diet, and it's really helping them, again, tune into their bodies, recognize what they eat, how they feel emotionally, how they feel physically, and then really dissecting that and helping them become in tuned. And then you're going to replace the gut damaging foods with gut healing foods. So whole foods, providing your body with all the vitamins, nutrients, antioxidants that it needs to optimize. Omega-3 fatty acids, your brain is a big lump of fat. So we need these fats to be the building blocks of our brain and to work properly. Fatty 3 omega acids also lower inflammation, so it will lower intestinal inflammation and also lower brain inflammation. Prebiotic fiber is also another. Those are certain vegetables that feed the probiotic. They feed the good bacteria. So the idea, limiting sugar that feeds and thrives the bad bacteria, while implementing prebiotic fibers that help the good bacteria repopulate and just create a really great little ecosystem and be happy and thriving. Fermented foods is another way through food, because you can also supplement the probiotic through a probiotic supplement, but also eating fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, pickled vegetables all help replenish that good microbiome. Bone broth, I can't talk enough about the importance of bone broth. It is one of the most healing foods for the digestive system. It actually has a certain amino acid called L-glutamine that goes in and it repairs the intestinal lining and helps with intestinal inflammation. It helps with leaky gut. And then after that, you're going to repair your gut with certain supplements and then rebalance. It's so important to kind of teach my clients to learn take away what they've learned from this 4 R's of gut restoration, and not only have it for that treatment period, but really implement it throughout their whole entire lifestyle. So rebalancing their lifestyle, because sleep, exercise, stress, and then of course foods and everything we talked about all affect our gut health. So rebalancing your lifestyle is so important for an optimal digestive tract, so therefore mental health. And then of course, for sake of time, I'm not going to go into so much detail about where we can get all of these foods and these supplements, but if any of you are interested in learning a little bit more about the details of these foods, where you can find these foods, what these are, and what supplements that can help rebuild the digestive system, therefore support mental health, I'm having a workshop next Thursday, August 27th, just for an hour. It's all virtual, it's all online. And I am just going to go into so much more detail about just what foods and supplements and the gut-brain axis and just how all of that contributes to someone's not only physical health, but also their mental health as well. And that's it.
Oh my gosh, I love learning about this stuff. I know, it's so awesome. All right, you guys, we have time for some questions. Does anyone have any questions for Crystal?
I do. When it comes to, first of all, so informative. I'm over here like reeling with it. When it comes to the balance, like if you are, like I like working out a lot, like 3 to 4 days a week, and I stay hydrated, and like I feel like the sleep, the workout, that's like on lock. The diet though, or the meal prep plan, whatever you want to call it, the food intake, just to label it generally, I think that's where I notice, and I'm sure other people who work out notice that the fluctuates the most. Like taking the supplements and vitamins I'm also good with, but the food, it's like staying on track with what we stereotypically think of as like the healthier food choices, the more natural, the whatever food choices. That's always where I find an issue. Like that's where I'll dip. Like I could be great on working out, this, that, whatever, and I meal prep, and like 2 weeks in, I'm like, I'm so burnt out from eating brown rice or quinoa and turkey and chicken and broccoli. I can't do this anymore. And then I'm better about not pinging right to like a cheat meal or something. So I don't know if you have any suggestions about like how strict do you have to be when it comes to eating super clean or the ideal diet? Like how bad is it really to have those cheat meals or go to McDonald's or pizza or something like that?
I wouldn't say it's extremely detrimental. I think there's always like a treatment period where you do need to go for a certain amount of time to eliminate these certain foods to lower that digestive inflammation. Because when there's so much, you're just going to be reactive to so many things.
True.
Once you're able to kind of maintain that, you're able to have, I would say like a 20 or 80-20 lifestyle, you know, Monday through Friday, you're strict on your diet, but come the weekends, you can afford to go a little bit off. I would also say, you know, there's certain foods, like especially quinoa and especially grains, can be a huge dysregulation and imbalance to the digestive system because they're so genetically modified. So it's also kind of looking at just those foods and how they're affecting you uniquely.
It's a good point. Yeah, picking the ideal, more healthy options that aren't as modified is probably an easier way to stay on track with it too.
And healthy fats can kind of help make all of your meals exciting. So, you know, just turkey and quinoa, you can add some chimichurri or some vinaigrette or some different sauces to, one, get your fats in, but then make the meal just taste so much better and exciting. So it's not.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say too, Talia, I know I did the 6-week class with Crystal and learned all this stuff. And that was the one thing that was really helpful is I might have been making these meals that could have been boring, but it was all about the sauces. And so Crystal gives you recipes and talks about, you can make these sauces that have really great flavor and they all still stay within the like non-inflammatory and it's gut healing. And that was like, oh, that changes everything. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Robin.
I guess, Talia, we'll have to spiff up our food a little bit so it doesn't taste that boring. I think Crystal, you know, like cooking class.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely been a consideration and on my list of the next steps.
Anything else for Crystal as you guys are taking in all that really good information? So I have a question for you. When you're talking about, you know, like processed foods and foods that are genetically modified, can you just give us like probably most popular that maybe we don't think about when you think, oh yeah, probably don't think about it, but this either has tons of sugar or this has, you know, it's genetically modified to the point where we just don't think about it because it's such a staple. Can you share some of those foods with us?
Yeah, I mean, one, as you all probably are familiar with, is gluten. Gluten is the biggest contributor to anxiety and depression. Sugar is just really in everything. So lots of salad dressings, condiments, any recipe you're going to be finding sugar in. And then kind of what a lot of people don't recognize what can be considered an inflammatory food are grains and legumes. You know, 200 years ago, that was a big part of someone's diet. But as the huge demand for them came, people needed to keep up with the supply. So they've just become so genetically modified, so doctored up, and they're very destabilizing to our blood sugar, which can in turn destabilize all of our hormones, our cortisol, our adrenaline, and then of course the legumes too, which actually have lectins. So our body reacts to the lectins when we have already an inflammatory response going on. So that could be something that people think is a healthy part of their diet, and they're eating so much of it, but yet it's causing inflammation and blood sugar dysregulation. And again, it's not forever. It's just it's always this perfect storm. So as you're like taming the storm and taming all of these factors, I would call it like that treatment phase. And then once it's eliminated for a certain amount of time, you slowly start adding things back in, and then you can really start tuning in and recognizing if it's exacerbating anything that you have going on.
Yeah, I like that. I remember when we did that class, it was helpful to learn, like, you don't have to keep these things eliminated from your diet forever if you don't want to, but right. When you start bringing them back in and reintroducing them, check in with your body. Because sometimes, right, like according to what you shared, sometimes you can have little bits, little small amounts of things, and you don't have that response because you gave it that 30 or 60 days of repair. So that was really helpful to understand too.
Yeah, and it's really just being in tune, like especially for me, just from personal experience, when I fall off of my diet with, you know, wine or pizza, I'm so much more emotional for a week afterwards. And and I just really want to help people kind of connect like what they're eating and what is going on mentally.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much great information, Crystal. Thank you so much. I know we could talk for hours on this.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much information, and I really encourage all of you. Again, you know, she shared the Nutrition for Mental Health workshop that's coming up on the 27th. Crystal, please make sure to post that in our group as well.
I will.
An hour, looks like it was $15 online. Like, oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. I'm curious, if people sign up and they're not able to make it, are you providing a recorded replay of that, or do you know yet?
Yeah, I can provide. It's so easy just to be able to record it and do the replay. And then of course too, I want to say it's not only just for you, but it's for learning this education so you can kind of just expand that knowledge and implement it with yourself, family and friends, but also importantly, all of your clients too. So this could be something that you start implementing and start letting them recognize, like, well, what did you have for breakfast? What did you eat over the weekend? Like, why is your anxiety like blood sugar dysregulation? Low blood sugar can be a huge thing for anxiety. So
thank you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say that was a great, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. This guy. No, I wanted to say it was a great presentation. What I really liked about it is that you took a very much layered topic and broke it down into really good, I thought, bite-sized chunks that we could all understand well. And then make it accessible, like you said, that everyone can explain to their clients. Because I think a lot of people that have mental health challenges don't see that connection. Or they might have heard, quote unquote, the brain gut connection, but they just don't really resonate with it. And I also enjoyed how you are advocating for people to check in with their body. And,
yes.
You know, and so they can understand, oh, I ate this. Now, oh, that's why I'm so jittery. Where before they might have not have ever done it. So it was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, because like there is not one diet fits all. One food isn't going to affect anyone the same way. So yeah, that's why them tuning into their bodies, they're in control of their health. They're in control of everything, and having that intuition and that, you know, not that mind and body disconnect is really that important first step. Yeah.
Thank thank you for spending some of your time today with us at Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center. If you like what we're all about, please consider supporting our nonprofit organization by making a tax-deductible donation. To do this, you can go to our website at www.sagewellnessctr.org and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. We look forward to spending some time again with you real soon. Take good care.